guys, it's Alexis, aka The Soft Reader, and I'm here today to do a video all about my favorite audiobooks. Now, I'm a huge fan of audiobooks. I think sometimes depending on the story, listening to an audiobook read by a great narrator can totally change how you view the story. I know that that's certainly been true for me in many cases for some of the books that are going to be on this list. And so also this is a way for me to give audiobook recommendations to those of you who really love audiobooks. These are all audiobooks I have listened to this year, so I may do an updated list perhaps at the end of the year for books I've listened to in the second half. But this, I feel like, was the year I really found my stride with audiobooks. I just had an opportunity to listen to so many this year. These are going to be 6 of my favorite audiobooks. The first one I'm going to mention is actually an entire trilogy read by the same people, and that is the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. Considering this series is dual perspective, we do get 2 narrators, one to read June's story and then one to read Day's. The woman who does the voice for June is Marielle Stern, and then the gentleman who does Day's is Stephen Kaplan, and I think both of them do such a great job of playing both June and Day respectively, and I like that they both do a good job of doing the other. So in times when you get to hear June speak in Day's chapters, you know, Stephen Kaplan still commits to doing June in the Day chapters, and the same can be said for Marielle Stern. So I really like that. I feel like the two of them together could so believably be the characters, and there's so many times when you're listening to the story that when it gets to emotional bits, both of these narrators just really commit to a lot of the emotional baggage that comes with these certain chapters, and I feel like they just both brought it. They both delivered on playing both June and Day. And I read the first book not on audio, and then I listened to both Prodigy and Champion via audiobook, and it just totally enriched my experience. They did such a phenomenal job of bringing Marie Lu's characters to life and bringing the story, you know, to the emotional level it deserved. And yes, like, I so highly recommend listening to the Legend trilogy on audiobook with these two, because they bring it. The next audiobook I'm going to mention is Anne and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, which is narrated by Kim My Guest. And Kim My Guest is easily one of my favorite audiobook narrators because she does different voices for every character, but you know, she's not afraid to go there in terms of like moments when the characters are frustrated or moments when the characters are sad. You know, you can almost hear her like as if she was actually crying in the sound booth recording it, and she really does such an amazing job bringing Anna to life. And she does a British accent for St. Clair in this book, but she also does individual voices for every other character, so you know, you don't need the so-and-so said to be able to tell who's speaking, because Kim My Guest does it all on her own. And I'm not 100% certain if I would have necessarily loved this book as much as I did if I hadn't listened to it on audiobook, because all of the jokes in this book and all of the swoony scenes and all of the, you know, frustrating scenes, I mean, like, you get into it when Kim My Guest is sitting there telling you what's going on as if you're along for the ride. And she is easily probably my favorite female narrator because she just does such an amazing job of just enveloping you in the story with her voice. So if you get a chance to listen to anything by Kim My Guest, I highly recommend it because she just does a great job. The next one I'm going to mention is actually a book by my favorite male narrator, and that was The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye, which was read by Steve West. Now, I don't necessarily love this story. This isn't my favorite story I've read this year, but the narration is like so many levels of fantastic. Steve West has such a sultry voice that you want to listen to him anyway. He has a voice that you want him to keep talking. You're like, wow, you have a really nice voice. Please keep speaking. But he also does different voices for every character, and if you can't tell, that's something I love in an audiobook. I love to hear different characters have different voices, and Steve West definitely did that. And The Crown's Game as a story has a lot of characters who speak with Russian accents or with French accents, and there's a lot of, you know, foreign words in this story because it is a Russian story, and Steve West does all of them. You know, every character in this book has an accent, and he did every accent. You know, he does the Russian characters with French accents, and it was so incredible. Steve West has done a lot of great audiobooks as well. This is the only one by him I've listened to, but I have a lot of really high quality books that he's done audiobooks for that I have on my list. So, Steve West. I could listen to Steve West. Like, I know that sounds probably really creepy, but genuinely, I could listen to Steve West, like, forever. Because his voice is so melodious, but it's also kind of magical, and it just totally sucks you into the story. Highly recommend. The next one I'm going to mention is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire, and the audiobook I'm talking about is the one narrated by Cynthia Hopkins. And this one is just a book that I highly recommend on audio because this story is so magical in and of itself, and I think Cynthia Hopkins does a good job bringing that magic to life. And it's the same thing, right? She does a different voice for every character, and she does such a great job with it. When I reread Every Heart a Doorway physically, I still heard her voice doing the voices for Cade and doing the voices for Jack and Jill. And so, like, she really does, you know, and doing the voices for Lundy, like, she does such a unique voice for every character that it's almost crazy that it's one woman in a sound booth doing this entire story, because it doesn't even sound like the same person. It sounds like they had a team of 20 people doing every voice, and it's awesome. Like, and just the way that she encapsulates the magic of this story in every single character, and kind of the certain cadence she does Nancy as a main character. Like, it's such a short audiobook. It's only like 6 hours. It's perfect for like a car ride. If you've got a sweet, short, simple car ride, highly recommend it, because, like, seriously, Cynthia Hopkins, probably of all of these ones I've mentioned, does the best job at just nailing a different voice for every character. That woman is a vocal chameleon. I'm serious. The next one I'm going to mention is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This is read by Ariana Delaware, and I think one of the things that is so successful about this audiobook, first of all, is that Renee Ahdieh's writing style is very descriptive. It's very atmospheric, and so when you're listening to that on audio, you know, it seeps into your mind and you feel like you're there with the characters, experiencing, you know, the heat of the desert and, you know, the different characters and their experiences. But one of the reasons I loved this audiobook is because Ariana Delaware is an Afghani American, and of course this story takes place in Khorasan, which is basically the name for a historic place that is now Afghanistan. And so you can so obviously tell that Ariana Delaware knows how to pronounce everything in this book, right? All of the things in this book are from, you know, her ethnic group's native region, native tongue. And so that to me was so great, because I never once had to be like, how do you pronounce this? Because I had Ariana Delaware being able to tell me how you pronounce it. But also just her voice just fit the story so well, because she kind of has like a more of a husky tone, but it fits the story, and I feel like it fit Shazi's character so well. I could not have imagined Scheherazade with a different voice, in no way, because Ariana Delaware just does such a great job of encapsulating Scheherazade's sass, but also the different range of emotions that we see Scheherazade, you know, put forth in this story. And, you know, she also does voices, you know, it's not quite as diversified in terms of voices as some of the other people on this list, but she still does it. Being able to listen to her pronounce everything in this book was so much better for the experience, because I was like, oh, okay, you say it this way. And so, yeah, highly recommend the audiobook. The last audiobooks I'm going to mention is another series. This is by far my favorite audiobooks, my favorite audiobook series, one of my favorite series in general, and that is the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy by Jenny Han, narrated by Laura Knight Keating. They are my favorite audiobooks. I could listen to them again and again and again, because Laura Knight Keating does such a phenomenal job. She does a voice for every different character, but like, it's the same situation. Like, I cannot imagine Laura Jean with a voice that's not Laura Knight Keating's. Like, I can't, because, you know, she does the inflection right every time in the story. Laura Jean's like, Kitty, It's like she does it so perfectly. Like she puts the right amount of inflection into her voice to nail it. Like you can see it, and every time Kitty is being a little sass master, like you almost could like see the character with her hands on her hips being all sassy, because that's how great Laura Knight Keating does. She does a really soft-spoken voice for Margot, which is like 100% what I would imagine Margot sounds like. You know, she kind of plays up that kind of bit of a tool voice for Peter, and it's perfect. And she does this like adult, you know, uppity voice kind of for Miss Rothschild. Like she just brings, these characters already are so well created, and they already have such a presence on their own that like Laura Knight Keating just takes it and just like punches it through the roof with her performance. Like I just can't with how phenomenal she does with the narration for the series. Like I love the series, and I'm so thankful my library happened to have it on audiobook when I went to Kentucky, because that's what I listened to the entire way there and back. And she just slayed. She slayed the audiobook. And just, if you like the series, or if you're interested in giving the series a try, please do yourself a favor and get the audiobook narrated by Laura Knight Keating. Or do me the favor and give the audiobook a chance, because she does an amazing job. Like, it's so good. I can't even. It's so good. So good. Alright guys, so those were my favorite audiobooks. Like I said, these are all ones that I've listened to this year, but I still wholeheartedly highly recommend them, or at least checking out these audiobook narrators and the other works that they've done, because I promise they do such a phenomenal job at bringing the story to life. And I'm very, take it from me, okay, I'm very picky about audiobooks. Like, I'm the kind of person who won't listen to an audiobook if I don't like the narrator's voice, which sounds terrible, but it's true. So I'm very picky about audiobooks, and I'm recommending you these ones because I think they're great, and I think they do a phenomenal job at bringing the story to life. Trust me. Trust me on this. Alright guys, so I would love to hear your audiobook recommendations down in the comments below, or if you guys would like me at the end of the month to do like an audiobook wrap-up separate from my regular wrap-ups, if you guys would be interested in that, let me know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video.